So good morning everyone. How are you all? I hope you all are fine at your places. Since you all know that we are doing book number 1, Introducing Sociology. And in book number 1, we have started the chapter number 1, that is our sociology and society. All right. And I told you in the last class that I've got two options to teach you. Either I can teach you through a PPT in the form of slides, or I can teach you through your textbook, right? So I gave you the introduction of this subject sociology through that PPT, and I also gave you the introduction of this chapter a little bit through PPT, right? And today we're gonna see what's there in your textbook. Look, why I teach you through PPT. There are certain things that are very limited in your textbook, and we can't edit our textbook, can we? We can't do that. So when I wanted to give you extra information or complete information regarding something, then I go for PPT. I teach you through PowerPoint presentation. When I have to teach you through textbook, then I obviously teach you through textbook. So I'm going to use both these two means, both these two methods or ways to teach you, right? So we were doing chapter number 1, that is sociology and society, right? Okay. So now I'm gonna share the screen with you. Okay. I hope it's visible on your screen as well. Okay. So here I go. Here I go. Here I go. I go. Chapter number 1. So this is your chapter number 1 and the PPT that I've made for all of you. So this is your PPT, right? So I have opened both the things, right? PPT and the PDF of your chapter number 1. Look, why I have made a PPT, because your textbook didn't have that kind of introduction that I wanted to discuss with you, right? It didn't have that kind of introduction. That's the reason I made a different PPT, in order to give you understanding of the subject, in order to give you introduction of this subject, in order to give you a good start, so that you can really understand what this subject wants from all of us and what this subject teaches us, right? It's important for all of us to understand what this subject actually means. So that's the reason I made this slide. I hope it's clear to all of you that what's there in the slide. So book number 1, Introducing Sociology, chapter number 1, Sociology and Society. And this is the introduction that I discussed with you in the last 2 classes in the form of, introduction, that what this subject is really about. So your book didn't have that kind of introduction. That's the reason I made this slide, right? So we did concept number 1 in the form of sociological imagination by C. Wright Mills, who is an American sociologist. We did that. Okay. So I'm sure you all are aware that this subject has come from from one Latin word, and from one Greek word. Latin word was socius, which means companion, and the Greek word was logi, which means study. So study of society or study of the relationship means companion that's there in the society among the human beings, and human beings with different institutions, right? We need to understand the relationship that's there in the society, right? And father of sociology, Gus Combe, right, who coined this term in 1838. So we discuss all those things, right? Okay. And we started with the number 1 concept, right? The sociological imagination by C. Wright Mills. Okay. in which we understood that there is a relationship between personal and public affairs, or there is a relationship between personal issues and public issues, right? Personal troubles and public issue, right? Okay. So, okay. So this was the first concept after the introduction, right? And look, what happens here is that when we talk about this very first concept that's there in your chapter 1, sociology and society, look, what this basically writer says, or what this sociologist C. Wright Mills says, is that there is a relationship between personal troubles and public issues, right? Look, what happens here is that personal issues eventually becomes public issues, right? Personal issues eventually become public issues, and we need to understand the public issue. We need to understand the personal troubles in order to understand the public issue. Look what happens. Look what happens here is that these both things, personal troubles and public issues are interrelated. Is that clear? And remember that sociological imagination is that imagination. When we talk about this concept, sociological imagination, this is that concept, or this is that imagination that is always there in the sociologist. And it enables us, when we have sociological imagination, when we have sociological perspective, it enables us to understand the problem of other people through their perspective. Look, when we see at any problem, it can be the problem of poverty, it can be the problem of unemployment, it can be the problem of, any problem that is related to crime, it can be the problem of, somewhere someone going through starvation, and someone doesn't have food to eat, if someone doesn't have shelter to live. All these are kind of problems. And looking at this problem from different perspective is what sociological imagination is all about, right? We always look at problem through our own perspective, right? But when we have sociological imagination, when we have sociological perspective, then we look at the problem from the perspective of others, or from the perspective of that particular person who is facing problem, right? Who is facing that particular problem of unemployment, problem of poverty, problem of homelessness, right? So sociological imagination is extremely important to have, especially in the students of sociology, or obviously the researchers, the people who do research, the people who try to understand the different issues that are there in the society. They go with a sociological imagination, they go with a sociological perspective, where they try to understand the problem not from their own perspective, but from the perspective of the other person, from the perspective of the person who is actually facing the problem, right? Who is actually facing the problem. All right, so that's what actually happened. Someone has come in the meeting. Okay, so sociological imagination is kind of ability of our mind to understand the problem from the perspective of other. Because when we actually think of any problem, or when we try to observe any problem, we tend to be biased, we tend to be subjective. We can think with our own perspective. But as a sociologist, or by keeping sociological imagination, we try to understand the problem of other people through their perspective. And we generally what we say, looking at the problem by stepping into the shoes of other people. It is a kind of phrase to understand that what sociological imagination is all about. And that's what C. Wright Mills, who is an American sociologist, he says that there is an interrelation between personal troubles and public issues. Public issues, they are actually derived of personal problems. If there is a problem of unemployment, suppose if there is a problem of unemployment, if it is limited to one person or two person, then we can say that it is a personal issue. But if it is not limited to 1 or 2%, if it is limited to thousands of young people, of it is limited to if it is spread to thousands of people, then it becomes a public issue. So that's the reason I'm saying that there is always a connection between personal trouble and public issue. So that's what John Wright wants us to understand. We need to have sociological imagination for that. We need to have that sociological perspective to understand the public issues, because public issues actually are derived from the personal problems. When personal problem is transmitted to many people, then it becomes public issue, right? So I'm sure now you can actually understand what this sociological imagination is all about, right? Okay. So there is another line. Okay. The second number point, the sociological imagination enables us to grasp history and biography and the relations between the two within the society. Look, he has, I'm talking about C. Wright Mills. He has given the example of homelessness, or he has given the example of unemployment. Suppose if someone doesn't have shelter to live, or if someone has the problem of unemployment, what does it mean? It means that it is his present situation. And remember that present situation is always due to the past. In past, people have done something, or people have indulged themselves in certain things that have actually resulted in their present situation. Now what does it mean? Present always occurs due to the past. Present always occurs due to the past. Whatever a particular person has done in the past, it gives rise to the present situation. It gives rise to the problem that he is in right now. He is in a particular problem. It is because of the past deeds that particular person has done. Okay, so that's the reason when we talk about sociological imagination, it helps us to grasp history and biography. It's important to understand the history. It's important to understand the biography, means life of a particular person. Then only we can understand the issue, right? Then only we can understand the problem that is going on in one's life or going on in public, right? So there is a relationship between history and the biography. We need to understand, in order to have sociological perspective and to think in the terms of sociological imagination, it's important to understand the history and biography. I'm sure you are understanding. So first number one point, where he talks about there is relation between personal and public issues. I've already given you the example. If if someone is having the issue of unemployment, if it is confined to one person only, then it can be a personal problem, but it can be a personal trouble. But if it is spreaded to many people, then it becomes public issue. Automatically it becomes public issue. So I'm sure you have understood number one point. And number second point, obviously we need to understand the history and biography, that what person has gone through. We need to understand all those things in order to understand a particular problem or particular issue, right? Okay. So I have already told you in the last class that there is a distinction between personal trouble and public issue. When a problem is existing in the when the problem is existing in the local sphere, in the milieu. I told you in the last class, the milieu means local environment. If problem is existing in local environment, then it is a kind of personal issue, right? It's a kind of personal trouble. But when it transcends that local environment, when it goes beyond that local environment, then it becomes a public issue. And that's what a kind of distinction that C. Wright Mills is talking about. But eventually he says that there is a relationship, right, between personal problem and public issue, right? So I'm sure you have understood the third point. And obviously troubles occur within the character of a person. Trouble not only exists due to the public issue, but due to the personal problem in the character as well. So that also gives rise to the personal trouble. And public issue, obviously it can be due to the mismanagement of a society. Who is going to manage the society? Government is going to manage the society. If government is unable to manage the society, then it leads to mismanagement of the society. And when there is a mismanagement of the society, then it leads to what? It leads to our public issue, right? So this is what C. Wright Mills wants to talk about. Okay. So number fourth point, obviously that transcends these local environment. Obviously issues that transcends local environment, issues that go beyond the local environment becomes public issue, right? Issue for everyone, right? And the last point, you know what C and Mill is talking about, neither the life of an individual nor the history of a society can be understood without understanding both. So it's important to keep sociological imagination. It's important to keep that sociological perspective. Then only we can understand the history of a person. Then only we can understand the, you know, the biography of a person. Then only we can understand the issues that are there in the society, right? It's important to understand everything. It's important to understand the factors behind any issue. It's important to understand the reasons behind any issue. And who is going to give us this perspective? Our sociological imagination is going to give us that perspective. It is an ability of the mind to think not only from our perspective, from the perspectives of others as well. I'm sure you are understanding. Kindly text me if you are understanding this concept. Kindly text me, because I need your feedback as well, right? So kindly text me if you're understanding what I'm trying to make you understand. Okay, so understood. Okay, okay. So this is what sociological perspective is all about. You know, that's the reason just in the beginning of this subject, they have come up with the first concept of sociological imagination, because this is what going to matter. This is what going to matter throughout your journey in understanding this particular, you know, subject. It's important to have this sociological imagination. And C. Wright Mill wants us to have this sociological imagination or sociological perspective, to not only think from our own perspective, but from thinking from the perspective of others as well. And we say that stepping into the shoes of other, right, means thinking from the other's perspective. So this is what, you know, C. Wright Mill wants us to understand. Okay, so why I have made this slide, so that I can give you great clarity of this particular concept, right? Okay, so this is another slide. So this was what about your first concept was all about. So look what is you know, depicted here. One person means personal trouble, and thousand or millions of people are facing if they're facing the same problem, then it becomes public issue, right? You know, these kind of things I could not able to show you through your textbook. That's the reason I made, you know, different slide. That's the reason I made different slides, or I just want to show all these things through PPT. All right, so this is what was happening. Okay, so now I'm sure you are understanding how personal trouble becomes your public issue, right? And how his or her biography is linked to the structure and history of a society. It's important to understand the history. It's important to understand the biography, right? And history and biography is something that is related to social structure. It's important to understand that. Okay, look, I would recommend you to, you know, change the mode of your smartphone from this landscape to from portrait to landscape. You know, if you will see my, you know, lecture through this landscape view, then it's going to give you good viewing and larger viewing. Okay, if you are, you know, watching this lecture through your smartphone or something like that, then you can change the mode of your smartphone, right? That is going to give you greater and larger viewing of what I'm sharing with you all. Okay, so this is what I wanted to share with you. You know, it's important because these, when you see these things, it gives you great clarity. You know, you can able to retain the things for a longer time. You know, this is the way to remember things. This is the way to understand the things, and this could only be done through the presentation. This could only be done through the depiction of these slides that I'm particularly sharing with you. All right, that's the reason I was teaching through this PPT. Okay, so look at the previous. I need a job. We all need job. So we. There's a lot of difference. I means personal. We, when it becomes we, then it becomes public issue. In the similar way, this is also kind of example. I'm hungry, but we are hungry. When I'm saying, when this particular person is talking about, it's just a personal issue. When many people are talking about mass, you know, many people in the form of mass public is talking about, and it becomes your public issue. All right. Okay, and this is the last slide of this particular concept. The sociological imagination. The sociological imagination is simply a quality of mind that helps us to use information and develop reason to make sense of what is going on in the society and how it is affecting us. You know, that's what this particular subject gives us. It gives us that quality, you know, that's there in our mind to understand the information and to, you know, really you really understand what is going on in the society and how it is going to affect us, because every personal trouble becomes your public issue, and every public issue affects us, or it affects us in one way or the another, and that's what we need to understand, right? I'm sure you have understood the first concept of this particular chapter. So now I'm going to close this particular PPT and I'm going to teach you through your textbook, right? So this is your textbook, right? So we have, this is chapter number 1. As you all know that we are discussing the chapter number 1, and we have discussed the introduction that I've, taught you through that PPT. And it's important to, taught through that PPT because your book didn't have that kind of introduction that I wanted to discuss with all of you, right? So I'm sure you have understood the introduction about this chapter. Okay, and now talking about the second concept that we have just now recently, we have discussed the sociological imagination, the personal problem and the public issue. So I'm sure you understand this concept as well. Now we're going to understand the third concept of this particular chapter number 1. Okay, so what's the third perspective or third concept? This is pluralities and inequalities among society. So this is the third concept. I'm sure it's visible on your screen, right? So this is the third concept that I'm talking about right now. And yes, this is the third concept. I'm sure it's visible on your screen. Okay. So pluralities and inequalities among societies. This is the third concept. Look what happens. Before I teach you this particular concept, I would just want to give you a kind of introduction, right? It's important to give you an override. It's important to give you, I would say, overview of the things, right? Then only you will be able to understand things properly and easily, right? So pluralities. Look, India is that country, India is that nation which has got a pluralistic nature. Indian society is a pluralistic society. When I'm saying pluralistic society, what does it mean? It means that India is having a lot of diversity. We all know that. We have diversity in language, we have diversity in our culture, we have diversity in our, religion, we have diversity in caste, as I've already told you that, and in caste also we have got further divisions, right? So there are a lot of divisions that are there in the society in terms of language, in terms of caste, in terms of race, in terms of ethnicity, in terms of your community, in terms of your region, right? So there is a lot of diversity, and diversity is what plurality is all about. Diversity is what pluralistic nature is all about. Diversity is all about what plural nature India has. So this is what pluralities is all about. Diversity and the distinction between the culture, and we have got a lot of diversity. We all know that India is a diverse country. And inequalities means the inequality that is there in the society. Inequality is actually a kind of imbalance that is there in the society. Some people are rich, some people are poor, some people have got the opportunities, some people don't have the opportunities, some people have access to education, some people don't have access to education, right? Some people are owning a lot of property and a lot of capital. Some people don't have property or ownership of anything, right? So there is a lot of inequalities. Not only pluralities are there in the society, not only pluralities are there in the Indian nation, there are inequalities as well. So this is what pluralities and inequalities was all about. These two things were all about, and this is there. These two things are there in the society, right? So we're gonna read from this, okay, right from this paragraph. In the contemporary world, we belong in a sense to more than one society, right? So in this contemporary world means in this present world, in this present situation, in this present scenario, we belong to not only one society, but we belong to many society. Why they are saying this? They are saying this because there is a lot of diversity in our country. There is a lot of diversity in our nation, right? That's the reason they are saying that. In the contemporary world, we belong in a sense to more than one society. I'm sure you are understanding what I'm trying to make you understand. When among foreigners, a reference, when amidst foreigners, reference to our society may mean Indian society, but when amongst fellow Indians, we may use the term our society to denote linguistic or ethnic community, a religious or a caste or tribal community. Look, now what does it mean? It means that when we are there among foreigners, suppose we go out of a country, suppose we are in England, suppose we are in America, there we're going to say that we belong to Indian society, right? We can easily say there that we belong to an Indian society. Why we can say that? Because those Americans don't know about the diversity that's existing there in our society. Multiple diversities, in the caste, in the religion, and in many aspects of life, right? So foreigners say that we belong to Indian society, and when we can easily, you know, refer ourselves, or we can easily say that we belong to an Indian society. But when we are there in our country, when we are among fellow Indians, when we are, you know, sitting in our Indian states, when we are there in our own nation, then we have got a lot of diversities. Then a lot of diversities come in India. How we can say this? Look, people are diversified on different grounds. People are diversified on different aspects. Like people are diversified on the language. You know, the first country, I'm talking about the first state. You know, the first state that was created on the basis of language was Andhra Pradesh. It was created in 1953. So Andhra Pradesh was formed or created on the basis of language. Telugu speaking people came and formulated or formed a state, and that state was Andhra Pradesh. So Andhra Pradesh was the first state that was formed on the basis of language. So it's not only Andhra Pradesh. We have got Punjab, where Punjabi speaking people are there. We have got Marathi people, Maharashtra, Bengali people, West Bengal, then Rajasthani people, they speak Rajasthani language, Gujarati language, Kashmiri language. So we have got a number of, you know, distinctions, or we got a number of instances or examples through which we can say that our society is diversified. So what this particular paragraph means is that when we are there in the foreigners, then we say that we belong to an Indian society. But when we are there in our country, then we say that we belong to Kashmir, we belong to Andhra Pradesh, we belong to, you know, Rajasthan, we belong to Gujarat. So then distinctions on the basis of language, you know, comes into play. And not only on the basis of language belongs, but when we talk about that we belong to a particular caste, then it also creates a lot of distinction, isn't it like that? I belong to that particular caste, I belong to that particular religion, I belong to that particular region, I belong to that particular race, means I belong to that particular, you know, ethnic society, I belong to that. Ethnicity means race. Now what is race? Race is kind of physical characteristics, you know, that people have. And you are going to understand about race and ethnicity further, you know, in the following chapters. Right now you just need to understand that on the basis of race, on the basis of ethnicity, there is a distinction that is there in the society, right? So this is what this particular paragraph means. This diversity, I'm talking about the next paragraph, right? Look at the cursor. I'm just going through the lines and using my cursor as well to actually tell you from where I'm reading. Okay, so this diversity makes deciding which society we are talking about difficult. But perhaps this difficulty of mapping societies, one not confined to sociologists alone, in the comment below will show, while reflecting on what to focus on in the films the great Indian filmmaker Satyajit Ray wondered. Okay, so what happens because of these diversities, it becomes very difficult for us to actually, you know, show us our identity, to actually say that we belong to this particular thing, we belong to that particular thing. So it becomes very difficult, especially in a pluralistic society in India, especially in, you know, diversified India. It becomes very difficult to actually, you know, say we belong to this particular society or we belong to that particular society. Becomes very difficult to, you know, to tell that, you know, which society we belong to, because we have got a lot of diversities, as I've already told you that. Okay, and this is a confusion that is there, that is, you know, existing among the minds of many people, right? That to which society we actually belong, right? So what happens here is that there is a remark of Satyajit Ray. Now, who is Satyajit Ray? Satyajit Ray is a renowned, Satyajit Ray is renowned, means he's a famous filmmaker. Filmmaker is someone who produces and who, you know, directs movies, right? This is what Satyajit Ray is, he belongs to, you know, that cinema, he belongs to that, you know, industry fraternity. He was a filmmaker, right? He was director, he was producer. So he's also confused. Now what he says is that, looking at the diversity of India, looking at the diversity of Indian society, he also wonders, he also become confused. He also, you know, find himself in the dilemma, in the tough situation, that he's actually wondering on which subject I should make movie, on which topic I should make movie. He's confused about the diversity that is there in the Indian society. So what he says is that he says, I'm going to read it, very fast, then I'll definitely going to make you understand about what he wants to say and why he wonders, why he's finding himself in dilemma and tough situation, that on which topic he should make movies. So what should you put in your films? What can you leave out? Would you leave the city behind and go to the village where cows graze in the endless fields and the shepherd plays the flute? You can make a film here that would be pure and fresh and have the delicate rhythm of a boatman's song. Or would you rather go to back in the time, back to the epics where the gods and demons took sides in the great battle where brothers killed brothers? Or would you rather stay where you are right in the present, in the heart of the monstrous, steaming, bewildering city, and um, try to or or try to orchestrate its dizzying contrast of sights and sound and milieu? Okay. Okay. So what Satyajit Ray is saying, who is an Indian filmmaker, what he is saying here is that he is saying that I'm confused that on which subject, on which topic I should make movie. Should I make movie on villages? Should I make movie by taking the concept of cities? Should I, depict the epics? Epic means your Mahabharata, Ramayana, what has ever happened in the past, the series of events. So he's confused. He has got three options. He wants to make movies on villages. He wants to make movies on cities. He wants to make movies on the epics, Mahabharata and Ramayana and all those things. And he's confused. He's saying that India's got a lot of diversity, that I'm confused that on which subject I should make movies. So that's what he's talking about. That's the reason he's saying that should I put the scene of city, or should I leave it? Should I put the scene of villages, or should I leave it? Should I make movies on the epics? So he is trying to say that he's totally confused, because there is a lot of diversity, because there is a lot of distinction that is there in the Indian society, right? Okay, so this is what he wants to say, right? Okay, so next paragraph, this question of what to focus in society is indeed central to sociology. Now look, now Satyajit Ray is confused. He's not able to make a choice on which subject he should make movies. And he's look what he has written here in this particular paragraph. He's telling the beautiful scenes of village. He's telling you the imagination that he has got in his mind. But remember that that is not the reality. He's just look at the lines that he has written, where cows graze in the endless fields with a shepherd means who rears sheep and all those things, who has a lot of sheep and go in the mountains and go in the villages to rear his sheep, right, to make them graze, right? That is what shepherd is all about. So shepherd plays the flute, and cows grazing in the villages. So he's trying to romanticize, he's trying to tell the beautiful scenes that are there in the villages. So he's trying to show that, but the reality is very much different. And who is going to give him the reality? The sociologist. This subject is going to give him the clarity that what is actually going on in the villages, right? He's trying to romanticize the things. He's trying to going with his own imagination, but that is not the reality. Now what sociology says is that, look, this question of what to focus in the society is indeed too central. So what to depict, what to show, what not to show, it's a question, it's a big question. Who is going to solve it? Sociologists are going to solve it, because they are going to depict the real problem that is there in the villages. They are going to show what actually is existing in the villages. There is a lot of things apart from beautiful things that are going on in the villages. There are other things as well. And who is going to depict it? Who is going to focus on it? Obviously, sociology is going to focus it. And this is a question that sociologist is going to solve. We can take Satyajit's comment further and wonder why his depiction of the village is romantic. I've already told you that he's trying to romanticize the things. He's just going with his own imagination, that I can make movies in this way, I can make movies in that way. So he's talking about all those things, right? So what sociologist says is that sociologists find something that is very contrast to what Satyajit Ray is saying. He's going very, sociologists are going very different. They are showing the real side of the village, or they are showing the opposite side of the village. And we're going to understand this as well, that what sociologists observe or what sociologists understand out of the scenes of the village, right? I've got just 1 minute and few seconds left for this class. Okay, so I think we should continue this further in the next class, because time has already going very fast. So kindly text me till now. Have you understood everything that I've tried to make you understand? Kindly text me, because I need your feedback, right? It's important for me to make you understand everything, right? So kindly text me. Have you understood what I have till now tried to make you understood? Okay. Okay, Tavisha, clear. Puneet, yes, sir. What about Ayushi? Ayushi, have you understood? Kindly text me. Okay, so look, I'm going to give you great understanding of all the concepts, and sometimes I will teach you through PPT, sometimes I'll teach you through textbook, right? But our main objective is, to understand the things very properly, and to understand each and everything that's there in your book. I'll, give you good understanding of all the concepts, right? So until then, take care all. It's time, it's time has come to say you goodbye. Until then, take care all. Stay safe, stay at home. God bless you all. Bye bye. Okay. Okay. So I'll meet you tomorrow. Until then, take care all. Stay safe, stay at home. God bless you all. Okay. Bye bye.